I used to struggle a lot with, and still do to a certain extent, of finding things Alex and I can do together.
Right.
And I've got a handful of sensory toys and counting toys. He likes counting that work. But then I find Isabel crawls in, and then he gets up and he wants to walk away. So
Yeah.
it's finding that one-on-one time where it's just us two and he's focused and he wants to do it. But
Yeah.
I'd love you to pick out your sort of top three activities that you do with your children that are an absolute hit, that maybe some of us can go out and purchase
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah. I'm gonna annoy you. I'll definitely show you my typical nice toys, but the thing is, it's individualized.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Isn't it? So I've got a child that loves ordering the colours of the rainbow, absolutely loves it. It's really calming and stimulating to him. So my rainbow gears, I don't know if you've
Hmm.
seen them all over TikTok. They're
Yeah.
like, there's like 7 gears, they're all different rainbow colours, and you spin them on and then you flip it and it all spins off. I mean, it's an autism dream. Well,
Yes.
I saw it once and I was totally sold by TikTok. Um, they're
The
quite
power of
affordable.
TikTok.
Oh, they're about £10 as well, and it was
We
within seconds
we've
they
got
had
it.
to
Yeah.
be.
It's great.
Yeah, have you? Yeah. So he loves that because you can go in the rainbow order. So it gives him a sense of ordering. It gives him a sense of the spinning, the visual
Yeah.
stimulation, and there's a bit of cause and effect there. So for him, that is just fantastic. I've got lots of cause and effect activities actually are brilliant. Have you seen the one with the monster? And it's a car, and you pump up the monster, and it blows up the
Yes.
balloon on the top of the car, and then you click the button, and it shoots across the room.
I have not
I
seen
need
this,
to
but
get
I
Yeah,
would
this.
love this.
it's
Yeah.
an autism dream. So it's got cause and effect there. It's got it's getting bigger, so it's suspense, it's anticipation. It shoots across the room, so it gives a big reaction. It's really that's a really brilliant one. And a really cheap one actually is rocket balloons. If you eBay rocket balloons, you can get about 1,000 for like 12 quid. And they're really long. They look like circus balloons that you make a dog out of.
Yeah.
But but the difference with these is you just blow them up and then you just let them go, and they go like that, and they spin all across the room. I'm awful for children that don't like balloons because they are literally their
Yeah.
worst. We have to pick and choose when we use these. But they spin up in the air really, really high and make the most incredible sound, and then drop to the floor. And again, that's brilliant. So I would say cause and effect activities
Yeah.
really is really great. But yeah, those three are probably the ones I reach for most in my attention autism sessions, I would say.
That's
Well,
really good to hear
yeah.
about the rocket one. Actually, Max got a birthday present from one of his friends, and it's like a rocket launcher, so it's just foam rockets, and he stomps on,
Stamp it.
and
Yeah.
he loves it. And it's really good, I think, for things like his coordination as well, because that's something that we've noticed is sort of an area that he's found
Yeah.
more challenging. So even just that, and it's really interesting how he's worked out how to do it. Like, instead of necessarily stamping on it, but he literally just used his whole weight just to sit on
Just
it.
sit there.
And it would shoot up. And again, I guess it's really repetitive. And I know loads of children love those kinds of toys, but yeah, it's been a massive hit
Yeah,
at home.
it's great to share that with them, even if they want every single turn and you're not turn taking typically. Just the
Yeah.
fact that you're reacting to them doing it and you're running and getting the foam and giving it back to them so they can do it again. It's a joint activity, isn't it?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be my turn, your turn. It doesn't have to be that.
Hmm.
It can just be, I am loving this just as much as you are. Isn't this so fun? And that's so whatever that is for your child, you know, your child could be jumping up and down watching a Bluey episode. If you're jumping up and down with them too, not ironically, genuinely enjoying the episode as much as they are, just join their joy. I
Yeah.
think that's great. So whatever you already own it. I don't want to sell anything. You already
Yeah.
own the thing that brings your child so much joy. It could be throwing stones into the pond. I don't know, anything.
Yeah.
Join their joy. Just don't observe it. Don't just be the observer. Just join it. Throw
Hmm.
it. Find the joy in it. Be genuine about it. Don't fake it. You know, actually find the joy in it. Jump up and down like they do. You know, you'll get just excited about it, and then they'll think, "Huh, she's really cool." Like, she speaks my
Mum the
language.
best.
Yeah, Mama's so cool. Like she I do. I feel heard. I feel seen. I feel
Yeah.
understood. She's speaking my language. This is awesome. And do you know what's even better? They can't fail at it. They're the expert at it. they can teach you how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's not to like in their eyes about that? Sometimes they'll want to push you away because actually the enjoyment they get out of it is that it gives them a moment's peace from you. So
Yeah.
honor that. If they push you away, just honor that, obviously. But
Yeah.
if they're happy you being there, then that's great too. Yeah.
Do you feel like autism and special educational needs in children's becoming more accepted in society, or do you think we've still got a long way to go?
I always think it is, and then I see an awful statement or an awful video, and just it reminds me how far we've got to go. I think it's really easy in this space to tuck yourself into a bubble of love for these kids, like especially with my Instagram, like that's 125,000 people that are obsessed with autistic children. Like that is so cool. Like it's
Yeah.
so cool, and it's so cool to have that in your pocket all the time, and it's so cool for my at work to be surrounded by adults that absolutely adore these kids and parents that are advocating for them. Like that's awesome. So day to day, my bubble is filled with the most amazing world of like love. But I know that's not reality. And sometimes my bubble bursts when I see an article or a politician like or a news article or a new journal or a new legislation or the lack of MPs turning up to vote on something that's about SEND provision or lack of funding, or like there's so many things, and it bursts my bubble, and I remember how far we've got to go. I feel like it's a bit of a peaks and troughs, isn't it? Like I've got to remember that there's the most amazing community that are absolutely vouching for these kids, and my God, is it better than it was 10 years ago?
Yeah.
But yeah, we have got a long way to go. We've got a certain long way to go as far as low support needs females with autism go. That's still very unknown and very unresearched. We've got a long way to go there. And things are changing as far as autism affirming practices. I still feel like we've got a long way to go there. Yeah, but it's going the right direction for sure.
Absolutely. And I know this is a big ask, and I know there'll be many people listening that children are at the moment non-verbal or have a few words and just would love to have a crystal ball and see into the future, even just in a year's time. But what are the signs that a child is going to talk who has additional needs? So Alex's understanding is getting very good and he's attempting words like I've explained, but it's still very little. And I guess I want to know what the signs are that you've noticed in your job that you think, oh, I think this child's trying to speak.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I know why this was really important. I guess I can answer this question and I will answer it. I think I want to preface it though with there are lots of different ways to communicate, and I get why speaking is so important, and I get it because you want them to be part of society and you want them to be understood by everyone other than just yourselves. I get it, I do. But I really am hopeful for a world in which they will be understood by the outside world with the use of technology, which is progressing so fast. God, 5-10 years we are going to see the most incredible technological advances for these children, especially now there's a lot of money in it. We'll see lots of technical advances. So I'm really hopeful that even if your child never speaks verbally, they will be understood by society. They will be able to give their opinions, or they will be able to give consent. They will be able to share their inner world with the outer world, whatever that's like for your child and their capability. I really do believe that. So I hope that gives you hope, whether what my second answer is going to be or not, because I really do see the most incredible communication every day that's non-speaking. But I know what you want to hear. So that's my preface. My answer is little things you see are I suppose it's similar things to what you see with a neurotypical baby, really. Sometimes when you're talking over a baby, you'll see their mouth mirroring your movements. So I often see that they're interested in the mouth, they're interested in how it sounds, and even if no sounds are coming out, they're kind of trying to maybe mirror your mouth. They might be, like I said before, they might be humming or singing or kind of you know, doing that to like common songs, maybe if they're interested, or maybe even be like tapping to common songs. They might be saying ga 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 ba 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 da da da, you know, again, that's typical. I've seen that in my class. I guess it's hard to answer because our focus in school is to get them to communicate, not to speak, I think.
Yes.
So it's probably a question more suited to a speech and language therapist, because they would be able to tell you the physical signs of the muscle tone, the tongue, the lips, you know, those kind of things. But I think for a special education teacher, we're just facilitating communication because we want our children to have choices and to give their opinion and to feel understood and heard. So the signs that I would look for is your child aware of what they want, or do they just pick randomly when they're shown a choice? You know, they've actually got an opinion on what they want. Do they reach for not that biscuit, you know, if they're like that, I'm like, oh, that excites me.
Yeah.
And actually, some of my best speakers in class have been my worst communicators.
That's interesting.
Can I just say that again? So some of my best speakers, they can say whole phrases, they can sing, they can do all sorts of things. They can't communicate a thing. They can't share a choice. They can't actually say what they want. They can't say how they're feeling. They can't, they don't have any independence with their speech, right?
Yeah.
So like as parents and as teachers, what do we actually want for our children? Do we want them to be as independent, or do we want them to be as good as speaking? So there is a difference there. For me, is independence. So I would love my children to be able to make choices, to be able to buy a bus ticket and take a journey in the bus, or to be able to communicate with friends. Now, none of that involves actually speaking. You can do a lot through gesture and pointing and AAC and symbols, and right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's almost like I find it a difficult question to hear and to answer.
Yeah, no, I get that.
That's not my goal. And I know, I get it. I get why speaking is so important. But I think that actually the focus should be shifted to, I want my child's voice to be heard. And that doesn't always mean speech. Because, like I said, like I've known children that can read real full scripts and ask questions or whatever, but they can't have a conversation. Because it's just like script. Yeah, so
it's a really interesting point that you make as well, and I think where it actually falls down a lot for some children because they can be overlooked. So Max is speaking, but when it comes to actually being able to communicate his feelings or what he's feeling about anything, that's something he finds really difficult. But I think actually, does he get as much intervention in that kind of thing as another child who's maybe non-speaking? Perhaps not, because from the outside and in terms of a speech and language assessment, he's fine.
Yeah, and he probably says, when asked how you're feeling, he probably just says happy, because that's the right answer.
He knows happy or sad, or maybe hungry, but generally just happy or sad. If I'm crying, I'm sad, and everything else I think is happy. That's something that we're trying really hard to work with him on.
I would say that's probably the most important. And I would say that he's probably with his non-verbal peers at a level of that, right? I would say, so I would, my focus is communication, whatever that is. And I don't just pick one for a child. I pick all sorts of, just have it all on offer and just see what they gravitate towards. One child, he's been in our school since nursery. He's only just come to us in my class in September. So he was in the neurotypical nursery next door, and was seen to have bad behavior, ripping displays, throwing things constantly, just couldn't cope in that environment. You know, the early years environment where everything's out in like pretty little the tables, just couldn't cope with it. Couldn't cope. Was incredibly destructive, heightened, dysregulated. Even when happy, was just really destructive. Got so much joy out of the reaction of that.
Yeah.
Came to my class and I was like, how are we going to manage this? You know, we've already got 10 children. Like, what are we going to do with this child? You know, genuinely, that was my fear. You know, with all my experience, I just thought, what are we going to do with this child? But randomly, after a term, and I can't take any credit for this, it was just all the communication is just out. He saw me modelling with an AAC, with symbols in a story and just grabbed it off me, and it was a sweet shop. So he worked out that when I pressed sweet, I got a sweet, and he was like, oh, I don't like this. So yeah, it was my maths money work, basically. It was sweet shop. I thought, how am I going to get my kids money? Right, they can buy sweets anyway. So yeah, he worked out when I press that, I get a sweet. This is awesome. I love this thing. You're not having this back. I'm having this. To a term later is now typing whole words on the iPad. Like, I haven't taught him that. He has just worked out this thing means I get stuff. This is awesome. Right, what's that? What's that word? What's that word? And he was like writing every bit of text he could find around the room. He was writing it on his iPad, pressing it, and then hearing it. Oh, okay, so that's what that says. That's what that says. That says. 2 terms later,
incredible.
he taught himself to write words, and even did a question mark the other day. I don't know how he's learned that. I didn't teach him that. He's just done it. That's what I mean about facilitating. Like, sometimes it's just about having those things on offer.
Sure.
Now, is he
having those opportunities, isn't it?
He's arguing for the toilet. He can say exactly what he wants. He can say what juice he wants. He can say what toilet he wants. And you know what's happened? His behaviour. He's our best behaviour child in class. Yeah. He's our most irritated. He's our calmest.
Because he just wanted to be understood.
Being understood, it comes from frustration. He's not frustrated anymore.
Yeah.
He's heard. He feels understood. And even if we say no now, it doesn't come from frustration. He's frustrated that he can't get that thing, but he's not frustrated that he feels misunderstood. And there is a difference there, and you can see it.
Yeah.
And that is not, I'm not taking any credit, because that is nothing that I've done. The only thing I did.
No, but you have, because you've given him the chance.
Yes.
And there'll be so many children out there who don't get given that opportunity. Like that little boy's hit the jackpot in getting the environment and you and all of those opportunities to find out how he best communicates.
The expensive AAC app that we're using might not be the answer for another child. They might need symbols, or another child might need photos, and it might have exactly the same impact. So when you ask that question, how do I know my child is speaking? He's saying far more words than my other child, who's 6, who's saying loads of words, but not actually asking for anything. Right? Actually, I would rather the first one. I would rather a child he doesn't say a thing either, nothing. Only makes sound when he's crying, no sounds, but my God, is he communicating?
That's incredible, isn't it? And also, I think one thing we all forget is you don't know what level of understanding they've got either. So Alex's understanding, because you assume they don't speak, they don't understand, and a lot of people make this wrong assumption. And like the nursery said to me the other day, he's one of the best behaved in the classroom. You tell him to sit down, he sits down. You tell him to line up, he lines up. Tell him to take his shoes, takes his shoes off. And she said, doesn't mean just because you can speak, you don't have that level of understanding. And I think a lot of people can forget that.
Yeah, and understanding of quite acute things as well. Conversations that are happening at home or in the class, you know, whether it's gossip or whatever, you've got to assume competence. You have to.
Yes.
You have to.
Yes. Yeah.
With all children.
Yeah. In your opinion, and you've discussed it, a lot of things that you would recommend, but what would you say makes an amazing classroom environment for a SEND child? Like, what would be your top tips?
I would say as little stimulation as possible, and sometimes that can look quite boring. So early years classrooms look so beautiful. They've got beautiful natural things. It's all out, it's all on display, it's all, it's beautiful. There's tough trays out, but sometimes that is just far too overstimulating. And the fact that it's all open, all in one room, there's no order or organization to it, that's almost the nightmare actually for our children. I know your children are going to reception.
I'm thinking that this sounds very familiar, this classroom.
It's not for all children, but typically that is the nightmare, because there's no rules, it's not clear, there's no areas. I mean, sometimes early years do it very well and there is clear areas. So I would say separating a classroom into clearly defined areas is such a great start. It makes, because autistics typically take in all the information all at once, you're just lessening that, then they only have to take in this area's information all at once. And just think really carefully about what you're having on display and on your cupboards. Is it busy? Is it fussy? Is it messy? And it might not be messy in a clean sense, but it might just be fussy. you know, what are the colors like? Is it, you know, does everything have to be out? Does it have to be in clear boxes? Could it be in opaque boxes? You know, it might be as simple as that. Just, yeah, I think that is a really easy fix. And I do it with I use screens, you know, there's big, you know, screens, and I use furniture. So rather than everything being pushed to the sides, I kind of like to section out my room in different areas, and it just makes it far more achievable for a child to stay in an area and focus on a thing. Whereas if it's all open, like they're all everywhere. They're like
a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think so. And then having an outdoor area that they can access, I think, so they can get out at any time. Yeah, I guess timetable is a thing as well. Like our kids can have a sensory break or snack whenever they want to. And I know that's a luxury for special ed, but I don't think it's completely unreasonable that a child could get up and move around when they want in early years. Or have a bit of a crunchy snack when they need in early years.
Yeah,
the snack's a really interesting one because Max eats all day, and
yeah,
so for
Again,
him
to go oral sensory,
yeah, absolutely, he literally all day he'll just be like, can I have a snack, please, can I have a snack, can I have a snack? And I think you're right in that it is that sensory seeking behavior, and he's obviously going to go to school where they have, and I'm hoping he'll be okay because this is typically how it's done at nursery, so I think he's relatively used to it in the nursery environment. But it's literally, he'll have his breakfast at home, then they'll have a snack mid-morning, and then he has to go all that time without any kind of,
it might be that he has a chewy, or it might be that he has a drinks bottle that is quite hard to suck, so that he's getting a little bit in that he can have at all times.
That's a good idea. Yeah,
it might be that they allow him to have cereal in a closed container at all times. I would just work with the school with that one. But yeah, give him the benefit of the doubt, see if he even needs it, because I think sometimes we try and put intervention in place of, you know, what might happen.
We perceive that that's going to be a problem, and actually it might not.
It's not. So see if he does, but if not, I would get a hard to suck juice bottle, just because then he's getting some feedback. And they let them have water at all times, don't they? So I would do that. Chewy is another thing, and then maybe at last resort some kind of crunchy snacks that he can just have on hand. But everything you're saying about him is very, very oral seeking. So I think that's obviously very important to him.
For a parent that has sort of just found out that their child, you know, has been diagnosed with autism, or that they might have a special educational need, what would be your advice to them? I mean, we say all the time, what we've learned is focus on what they're doing and not what they're not doing. And I think the biggest thing for me is that just because he doesn't speak doesn't mean he can't communicate, and focus on that rather than the fact that he might not be speaking yet.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, I feel like I've got a warped perception because for me it's my normal.
Yeah.
And I'm coming at it from a very different place. I've chosen this. It's very different.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
I haven't got the same, I mean, God, I was welling up on your first podcast when I was listening to it. I haven't got those feelings of grief, fear, forever, you know, or I just get to come to work today and play with these amazing children, and I come at it from a very different angle. And actually, I don't often see the parents when they're first diagnosed, because they have to have a diagnosis and EHCP to get into a class like mine. But what I would do is genuinely offer podcasts like your own. I would offer Instagram accounts from parents with children with a similar age or diagnosis to theirs, for just that bit of reassurance that they are not doing this on their own. What they're feeling is perfectly fine. Laura Brown, so Spinning World of Autism accounts like that. Stories about autism, he's fantastic. Just real, honest, raw accounts from parents that are sharing the fears, the joys, the love, the anxiety, everything.
Yeah, the whole range of emotions that comes with parenting. Yeah.
Everything. And so they can easily find their community in their pocket, because not always will you find another parent at the nursery or whatever in real life like you guys have. So I feel like if you've got a community in your pocket, I feel like it could feel a little bit easier to navigate. And maybe you might skip, like Laura says, she skipped a couple of years by using social media of her learning journey, and I think that's probably quite accurate.
I think we're really lucky in so many ways, because, you know, if you think even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, before the rise of social media, as controversial as social media is,
Yeah,
actually those parents would have felt even more isolated sometimes
right.
than the parents now. At least you've got someone that you could listen to something, or you can watch something and you think, oh, like I really resonate with that.
Relate.
I
Yeah,
feel like they understand.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not the only person who's going through this journey, or who has a child who can't deal with a play date, or
Exactly. Isn't invited
isn't
to parties or
exactly, yeah, who doesn't get invited to parties. And I'm not the one who's who people
because
speak to at the nursery gates, and all of those kind of things that are
at
hard
nursery
as a
you might be
parent,
the
that you
only
want.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. In reality, your real life, you might be the only one. You might
yeah,
be the only person in your town, your village, or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, I know the National Autistic Society's stats are 1 in 100 are autistic. That is so wrong. It is
yeah,
so wrong. There are
yeah,
3 or 4 children in every single class in my school.
Yeah. And in
There is
mainstream
1 in
now.
10. I will put my life on the line. It is 1 in 10 minimum are autistic. So
Yeah.
just know, if you feel like you're the only autistic parent in the nursery, it's just because they don't know their child is autistic yet.
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
That's
it's
a
not because
really,
they're
yeah.
not.
yeah,
And just know that you're gonna be the expert that they come to when they realise.
Mm.
So, like,
mm,
just knowing that, and also just, it's okay to grieve. It's okay. It doesn't mean you don't love your child. It's absolutely
Mm.
okay to grieve the child and they might not be. Like, that's perfectly okay. I have no judgment for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Like,
I just want to say thank you really to you, because all the things that you're doing in terms of sharing your expert understanding and knowledge actually help me, and probably you, Amy, and any
Yeah,
other parent out
100%.
there, because we just wouldn't have had that information before. And it's empowering, I think, as a parent to have that, and to feel like you can go into the school and you can say, well, hang on a minute, actually I know that there are other ways of doing this, and I know that we can do different things, we can do different interventions, and they will make a difference to my child. So
because I do worry often that when I'm sharing this, I'm disempowering, because I'm like,
no,
you should do all of this stuff all at
no,
once. So that's
No.
actually really encouraging to hear that. And it makes so much sense to me, actually. That makes sense that it would be empowering, because you're being loaded with ammo of like, I've got these options. It's not just, I don't feel comfortable with this, but I have no other option. Like, you're saying, why don't you try this, why don't you do this? So that's actually, that comforts me a lot, because I do
yeah.
worry that I'm putting a hell of a lot of pressure on teachers and parents to do everything all at once that I've learned over 15 years. So yeah, that's nice to
There's an
know.
element of, there should
Mm.
be that pressure though, I think. We can learn so much, and as parents I think we need to try and educate ourselves so that
Yeah.
we can equip ourselves with the tools, like you were saying earlier, to be that calm for our children, not that chaos. And yeah, I think you do feel it as a parent, but I don't think you feel it because of Instagram accounts like yours. I think you just naturally feel that as a parent,
Right.
wanting to do the best for your child. But I think that it's important that we are able to kind of merge that world of special education that you're involved in, and try and bring that into mainstream, because the reality is that
Great.
not every child's going to get the opportunity to go to a
No.
specialist school.
No.
There's
And
just
let's
not that
let's
much provision out there. So if we
no,
can try and bring
it's
that into mainstream schooling and make that the difference, because
it's
so
the only
many of the
answer.
things you do are relevant for neurotypical children as well. It's
Yeah.
not going to do any harm to have that in the
Yeah.
classroom. So I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm so passionate about that, actually, and I think that does come through in my account, that it's for all teachers. Like I said right at the beginning, all teachers are SEN teachers, whether they've chosen this or not. And I
Yeah.
am really passionate that everything I do can be done in mainstream. It is not an excuse. Budgeting and time, and the fact that you've got 32 other children, is not an excuse. All children will benefit from this. And
Yeah.
I maybe shouldn't say this online. My mainstream school don't agree with me on that. They think it's not
Mm.
possible. But I'm not going to stop until I prove it is. It is possible. It is
Yeah.
possible.
So Alex's teacher was a SEN teacher for more than 10 years, and now this was her
Right,
dream, to teach primary, but
right,
it's set up how she taught SEN children, because she said
right,
this is the best way to teach children.
right. It
Mm.
is. Good autism practice is good practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just is.
And I guess the last thing that we should raise a point on is that I think a lot of people fear special educational needs schools. Looking round them, I probably looked around 5 or 6, and I felt at this stage there was a lot higher need in there than Alex needed at this time. And I
Yeah.
think people, me and Kirsty are not included in this, because we've spoken very openly to the teachers and said, keep that dialogue open. As soon as you give us the green light that there needs to be extra support, we're going to go and get it. But I think there's some parents that fear that
Yeah.
sort
I
of
see
thing.
that
What would you say to them?
lots of parents come around my class and you can just see they're like a deer in headlights. They are terrified that their child is the same as other children in my class. They're terrified that this is what future might hold. They're terrified of that their child needs this provision. It's scary. However, just because they're the children you're seeing when walking around the classroom doesn't mean that's what provision will look like when your child is in the class. It is, I can't say how bespoke it is. Every year for every single child, every single thing is bespoke. Their IEPs, their targets, their timetable, what teachers they have, everything is such a luxury. So I don't know what child wouldn't benefit from that. You could give me a future NASA astronaut in my class, and just because the other children aren't like them, because it is so bespoke and so linked to their special interests, they will still thrive. So I come at it from like a feeling of like completely being biased that special education is the best place to be. Because I just think, why wouldn't you choose that for your child? But I'm talking to people that haven't, but I just think, like, I get why you want them to be close to their neurotypical peers, and there is benefits from that. But 100%, and that's actually one thing that we can't offer in my class. We can offer a completely bespoke curriculum, bespoke everything. We cannot offer them an environment of children that are neurotypical to learn alongside.
Sure.
Luckily, my class is attached to a mainstream school, so we can offer that as an inclusion package if it's appropriate. But lots of special needs classes can't. So I suppose that's the only thing we fall short on. So I totally get if that is your reasoning, that is an absolutely fair reasoning. But if it is about levels or education levels, or that your child's not bad enough or whatever, whatever it is, whatever the language I hear, it's just not true. It's just not true. Yeah, like I say, I've had children that have taken GCSEs, I've had children that have taken SATs in my class, I've had children, like it just isn't true. It's so bespoke. But it might be true one day that they are too low support needs to be offered a place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what's happening year on year. Our children are more and more complex that are coming in with it, whether that's medical needs or educational needs, whatever. Just because there's such lacking places. That mainstream schools are having to educate children that we would have had easily in our classes.
Yes, this is what's happening in our school.
There's no way we would be seen. So our year sixes that left 3 years ago, there's no way we would get reception children like that now. No way. We just wouldn't.
And that's what worries me, actually, is that I went on a tour around a special needs school, and she actually asked me outright about Alex, and she said he won't get in here because he falls in the middle. It's too high a need that we're getting children here that have very high needs, and we are having to turn away children that 5 years ago this was what our school was about.
And then I hear that and think, okay, then that's what the situation we're in. Okay, well then special education schools and teachers need to be working really closely with mainstream teachers and schools.
That's what I was going to say.
It just fuels me more to keep sharing. It really does, because I can't take any more children in my class. I can't, because I'd be taking away provision from the current children. So what can I offer? I can share it.
100%.
I can share it for £3, £1, whatever. It's ridiculous what I charge for my stuff. It is so cheap because I just want the teachers to have the opportunity to test it out. I don't want them to have to beg, borrow, and still budget from their head teacher. I want them to just be able to get it and use it. That's my whole business philosophy for me and Sensory Classroom. And I know you asked in the beginning about why I started. that's not why I started social media, but why I started selling my planning and selling all my resources, is I just need it out there.
Yeah.
I don't want that you don't know how to do this to be an excuse. I don't want that you can't have the budget, or your head teacher's not letting you do it to be an excuse. There is no excuse with my website. Like, you can literally get like stuff. It is literally £1. Like, it's so crazy. It's silly, and I get told all the time that I should charge more, but I don't want to. What I want is for
it to be used in classrooms.
To make the difference.
Especially if this is what the future looks like.
It is, and it is the future. It is the future.
Yeah.
All the manifestos, everything we're reading at the moment is that it's all about inclusion and mainstream, and improving mainstream provision. That's what it's about. So we need to take that. Okay, that's what it is, right? Fine.
Yeah.
So we need to get
How do we work with that? Exactly. How do we improve it and make it better?
We need to have special needs teachers leading training. We need to have mainstream schools visiting special needs schools and not having them so closed and locked away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm part of a mainstream school, and I've never led training for my mainstream teachers, even though I've been really knocking on the door. I mean, you can imagine that I have to train teachers up, and it's not been accepted. We need to change that. It's really
100%.
important.
Yeah.
Are you surprised at how in demand special needs schools are, even from 10 years ago?
No, I mean, just looking at like medical needs, like medical advances are so incredible now that children are surviving, whereas they normally wouldn't be.
Sure.
So it's, as far as a medical perspective, it makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
these children that are surviving, which is amazing, need educating. Like,
Yes.
that just makes
Yes.
sense. Like, what do they think was going to happen? Like, when babies, one of my kids in my last school was born at 22 weeks at £2. That's incredible. What an amazing, amazing medical advance. Incredible. These children are going to have needs.
Yeah.
They're going to be disabled. They're going to need educating. Like, you can't have one without the other. So I don't know what they thought was going to happen, but of course, like, I think it's amazing that we get all these beautiful children surviving in the world. It's amazing. But they need educating, and they deserve the best teachers, and they deserve it. They deserve the school. But then that impacts, obviously, everyone else, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the best part of your job, would you say?
The best bit of the job, I mean, God, I just get to have fun all day.
You can tell that though, your energy is incredible, and it just like it oozes out of you. It's infectious.
Don't get me wrong, like my TAs, like I get stressed, and like it becomes overwhelming when you really care about the kids.
Yeah,
sure.
It becomes overwhelming, and it's not the kids that overwhelm me.
Yes.
It's never the kids that overwhelm me. It's always like not being able to offer what I know they need, or not having the, it's that frustrates me. It's never the children. So that takes its toll 100%. And finances, staffing, so that's probably the worst bit of the job. It's never the children. The best bit of the job is I literally get paid to play and hang out with my best mates all day. Like, that is awesome. It's awesome. Like, I shouldn't say it's my head teacher. I would do it for free. I would. That is so clear, I think. I love it. I love the planning. I love writing IEPs for them. I love meeting the relationship we get with the parents. I love knowing their siblings so well. I just love hanging out with them. I love it. I love it. The worst bit about the job is me having to do so many meetings and like paperwork and risk assessments, and I just want to play with them.
Yeah. I haven't met one SEN teacher yet that hasn't thoroughly enjoyed her job, and it makes our journey as a parent so lovely, because they're so lovable and kind, and they show affection in their own way with my son, without having to say anything, hence why we call this Love Needs No Words.
Exactly.
And how wonderful is that?
Yeah, it absolutely doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. I mean, also, jokes need no words. I have met the funniest kids ever. Like, I once had this girl, I think she was about 12, and she used to find completely non-speaking. She had a wicked sense of humour. She used to find page numbers and used to point at different members of staff and say that they were that age. Like,
I love that.
Is that like? But they're like, it just shows like you just need no words. Love needs no words. Jokes need no words.
Yeah.
Education needs no words. Yeah, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
But also
Oh,
they teach me far more than I teach them. Like
yeah.
I'll be laying down with a child and I have ADHD, so I completely hyperfixate sometimes, and I forget that I'm a teacher. I forget when I'm in the car, so I just like fixate on it. It happens more often than I'd like to admit. And yeah, so we're like doing intensive interaction, like and playing. And like, I don't know, they'll just like notice something that I haven't noticed, or they'll do something that I wouldn't see normally. I wouldn't notice that normally. And I love seeing the world through their eyes. Like I just love it. I just love it so much. They're also the strongest parents like ever. Like they haven't chosen this. You guys haven't chosen this. My God, do you step up? Jesus, I have never met more devoted and like passionate and educated parents of disabilities. Like honestly, fire. Like I find it so inspirational to spend a lot of time with parents of SEN, because my God, like they act like they chose it. They act like they were made for it. But we know that they were like I know that's not it. I just know that they've just stepped up, and just shows that everyone can if they want to.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been great for me to be able to. I feel honoured actually that I'm in a world that I never really knew existed before.
I think that's so true. It makes you so much of a better parent. Like you wouldn't be the parent you are without your sons. I wouldn't be the teacher I was without my class. No way. Not even a tenth of the teacher I am, and I'm feel exactly the same as parents. You don't know what you're capable of until you're put in that situation, do you?
Yeah.
So true. I remember my dad asking me when we first sort of started out on this journey, and he was like, "You must sometimes just ask yourself why me?" And I said to him back, I was like, "But maybe somewhere along the line, it was because they knew that we were what Max needed. Like we could do this for him. Like
Yeah,
we
my
could,
mum always says that.
yeah, we could
God,
fight for him, and we could, we could make it like the best life he can have and the best opportunities." I was like, because I just have to look at it in a positive light. Otherwise, I'll just, for me, I just can't go down that rabbit hole, really.
But it's absolutely justified to feel like that too. It's okay like to have both of those feelings in parallel with each other at once.
Yeah, exactly.
It's absolutely okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's healthy to have a good old cry now and again.
It is.
Yeah, because you care, right? That's just more proof that you like.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah.
And
Oh, Jordan, thank you so much. Honestly, we could talk to you for hours.
One day I will start my own school. One day I'll start my own run of schools. But
well, give us a heads up.
Yeah. First dibs, okay?
No, there's lots of amazing teachers out there. Just because they're not on social media doesn't mean they're not there.
Yeah, you
Their
are.
teacher isn't letting them, or they don't want to be on the camera. But trust me, there are lots of amazing SEN teachers out there. Everything I've learned has been from other SEN teachers or OTs or speech and language therapists. There's incredible professionals out there.
Well,
But
thank you so much for sharing everything with us. Yeah, it's been brilliant.
It's been so interesting, and I know it's going to help so many people listening. So thank you so much.